I never thought that achieving my dreams would come with such a high price. Every morning when the alarm blared at 5 a.m., I wondered if I had the strength to get through another day. 4 hours a day just commuting to and from work, every second, every minute spent on crowded subway trains, made me feel trapped in an endless whirlwind of exhaustion. But I had grown too accustomed to patience, to waiting. It seemed like my whole life the only thing I could do was wait for my turn to be recognized by my parents, wait for my efforts to truly matter. My name is Rachel. At 32 years old, I am a senior manager at Hartman & Co., a financial firm where I started working just 3 months ago. For many, it might seem like a dream come true. A doubled salary, a modern office with a free coffee bar, friendly colleagues and a boss who actually listens. But every morning, crammed into the train from the suburbs to downtown, I couldn't help but wonder if this dream was really worth it. 4 hours a day wasted on buses and subways drained me both physically and mentally. I knew I needed to find another solution. I wasn't like my brother, Daniel. Since we were kids, Daniel had always been the shining star of the family. He was the one with big dreams, a young entrepreneur with a string of startup ideas. Not all of his ideas were successful, but my parents were always willing to support him, from taking out loans to dipping into their retirement savings to invest in his company. Risk big to win big, Daniel would say, and my parents believed him unconditionally. As for me, I wasn't the risk-taken type. I liked stability, clarity. I had climbed the career ladder step by step, from a tiny administrative role to a management position. I didn't have the big wins like Daniel, but I took pride in knowing every achievement of mine came from genuine effort. That Saturday, as usual, I went to my parents' house for dinner. Traditional family dinners had always been a ritual. My mom was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of steaming sauce, while my dad sat in his usual armchair flipping through the newspaper. Everything seemed peaceful, but I knew the upcoming conversation would revolve around Daniel. I helped my mom set the table, placing each plate down carefully, silently promising myself not to let that old feeling of being left out creep back in. "How's the new job going, honey?" my mom asked, her eyes still on the simmering soup. "Really well, Mom, everything's great." I forced a smile but couldn't quite hide my exhaustion. "The only issue is the long commute. I'm looking for an apartment closer to the office." My mom and dad exchanged a look, a short glance filled with unspoken words. Dad put down his newspaper, and Mom sat across from me at the table. "Rachel, maybe I have a solution for you," my mom said, her flour-dusted hands gently clasped together. "Do you remember Grandma Evelyn's old apartment? The one I inherited from her? The tenants just moved out last week and it's only a 5-minute walk from your office." I was stunned. Grandma Evelyn's apartment. As a child, I had spent countless weekends there. The place always had the gentle scent of lavender and freshly baked cookies. It was a cozy 2-bedroom apartment with a small balcony where my grandmother nurtured her lush green plants. It felt like a safe haven, a little private world amidst the bustling city. "How much is the rent, Mom?" I asked, trying not to sound too eager. Mom mentioned a figure that made me blink a few times. "It was only half the market rate. Of course, I'd give you a family discount," she added with a warm smile. "I'll take it. Really, thank you so much, Mom and Dad." I almost squealed, a wave of relief washing over me. I had found the solution to my problem, and this time, my parents had truly thought of me first. That evening I returned home with a rare sense of excitement. For the first time in months, I could see a brighter future ahead. Once I moved into the new apartment, I wouldn't have to endure those long, exhausting commutes every day. Everything seemed to be falling into place, and I reassured myself that perhaps things would finally start getting better. But deep down there was still a vague sense of unease. I couldn't pinpoint where it came from, just a fleeting prick of doubt that quickly vanished, like a small dark cloud in a clear blue sky, a hint of a storm brewing in the distance. But at that moment, I chose to ignore it, focusing only on the good things right in front of me. Moving day felt like stepping into a new adventure filled with hope. But when the door swung open, that hope was swiftly replaced by disappointment. Grandma Evelyn's apartment, once filled with childhood memories, now looked like an abandoned house. The old walls were peeling, deep cracks ran across the ceiling, and the wooden floor creaked with every step. A damp, musty smell hit my face, as if the place had been forgotten for a long time. I stood in the middle of the living room, a cardboard box of personal belongings still resting on the floor, feeling like all my excitement had just been doused with cold water. I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. But then, the thought of returning to those grueling 4-hour commutes snapped me back to reality. If I wanted to make this place a home, I had no choice but to roll up my sleeves and start renovating. The following days, I became a true handyman. In the mornings, I put on my professional attire and worked hard at the office. By evening, I'd change into old clothes, grab a paintbrush, and start refreshing each wall. I learned how to apply wallpaper through YouTube tutorials, fixed basic electrical issues on my own, and even attempted to assemble furniture by myself. Slowly but surely, the apartment began to transform. The old, peeling walls gave way to fresh coats of soft, neutral paint. The creaky floors were sanded and polished, and the musty smell was replaced with the comforting aroma of vanilla candles. It wasn't just an apartment anymore. It was becoming my own little sanctuary, built with my own hands and hard work. The apartment began to change day by day. The soft gray walls created a soothing atmosphere, and the new polished wooden floors reflected the sunlight streaming through the large windows. I chose simple yet modern furniture: a cozy navy blue sofa, a charming small oak dining table, and a plush wool rug in the center of the living room. Every corner of the home was thoughtfully decorated, from neutral-colored throw pillows to neatly arranged bookshelves. After nearly 3 months of hard work, the apartment finally took on its new look. I invited my mom over on a Saturday afternoon, feeling both excited and nervous. My mom wasn't the easiest person to impress, especially when it came to home decor and design. When she stepped into the apartment, I held my breath, waiting for her reaction. Mom moved slowly from room to room, her fingers gently brushing over the smooth kitchen countertops, her eyes carefully taking in the small, charming wall decorations. I followed behind her, every step feeling heavier than the last. "Rachel, did you do all of this?" Mom turned around, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "Yes, I did it all myself, Mom, everything from painting the walls, installing the fixtures, to choosing the furniture." She didn't say anything at first, just smiled. Not a polite smile, but a real, genuine smile that came from deep within. A warm feeling spread through me. It had been so long since I'd seen my mom truly proud of me. "You did great, Rachel. The apartment is beautiful," she said, then unexpectedly pulled me into a hug. It was a gentle embrace, yet it conveyed so much that words couldn't express. After she left, I sat back on my favorite sofa, looking around at the home I had built with my own hands. I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. This apartment wasn't just a place to live, it was a testament to my efforts, to the fact that I could create something wonderful in my own life. A few weeks later, my work at Hartman & Co. also took a positive turn. My boss called me into his office, and after a brief conversation, he announced that I would be promoted to senior project manager. The salary increase was significant, and I would have the opportunity to lead my own team. It was a well-deserved reward for my unwavering dedication over the past months. That evening, I practically floated on my way home. I couldn't wait for the family dinner that weekend to share my exciting news with everyone. But when dinner finally came, my joy was quickly overshadowed. As soon as I shared my promotion, my mom merely nodded and said, "That's nice, dear." Then she turned to my dad and asked, "Have you heard any updates from Daniel?" Immediately, the conversation veered off in a completely different direction. Everyone began discussing Daniel's new business venture, how he was looking for more funding, and the future plans he was brewing. I sat there, feeling like a shadow in my own family's story, my accomplishment fading into the background as if it had never existed. A deep, indescribable sadness rose within me. It felt as if everything I had achieved was meaningless when my family only cared about Daniel. But instead of letting the sadness consume me, I chose to remain silent and continue my dinner. Because I knew, whether they acknowledged it or not, my accomplishments were still mine. I didn't need anyone else's validation to know I had truly done well. The news about Daniel's delivery company struggling reached my family on a gloomy Sunday afternoon. My mom called me, her voice hushed as if she feared someone might overhear. "Rachel, have you heard about your brother's situation? Daniel's company, it's not doing well." I had already heard bits and pieces before. A large delivery company from another state had recently expanded into our area. They had a modern fleet, a high-tech order tracking system, and most notably, offered same-day delivery at prices much lower than smaller companies like Daniel's. His clients began leaving, one by one, like pieces slowly falling away from the perfect picture Daniel had always painted for my parents. Mom asked me to come over for a family dinner. When I arrived, the heaviness in the house was palpable from the moment I opened the door. Daniel sat on the sofa, his hair unkempt, eyes vacant as he stared at a cooking show on the TV with the volume muted. His wife Jessica sat in the corner, her hands tightly clasped together, nails digging into her skin. "You need to help your brother, Rachel," my mom said as soon as I sat down at the dining table. "Your father and I have already decided. We're going to take out a bank loan to support Daniel's company through this tough time." Her words felt like a punch straight to my gut. "Mom, this is too risky. Daniel's competition isn't just a small shop, it's a huge corporation with strong financial backing. Taking out a loan could leave us with nothing if his company can't recover." "What do you know about business?" my dad cut in, his voice so cold it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "You're just an office worker. Daniel is an entrepreneur. He understands the market much better than you do." Jessica let out a soft scoff, her eyes barely hiding the disdain. I bit my lip, not wanting to argue further. I knew that no matter what I said, my words would be meaningless against my parents' blind love for Daniel. The following months were like a never-ending nightmare. My mom called constantly, updating me on Daniel's company. The bank loan only helped him survive for a few more months. The competitor continued to expand, steadily taking over the market, while Daniel seemed to have no strategy to fight back. Gradually, the debts piled up higher and higher, and eventually the thing I had feared most happened. Daniel's company officially went bankrupt. Daniel and Jessica moved into my parents' house. They said it was only temporary, but everyone knew how long that temporary might last. The house, already cramped, became even more suffocating with 2 more adults and all their belongings. One evening my mom called me over, saying she had something important to discuss. I sensed something was wrong, but I still went. As soon as I sat down at the dining table, she got straight to the point. "Rachel, you've been living in Grandma Evelyn's apartment for quite a while now, right?" she asked. Her voice so gentle it felt suspicious. "Yes, almost a year now, Mom." "I'm really happy with the place," I replied, trying to keep my composure. "The thing is, Daniel and Jessica really need their own space. You know, staying here with us isn't comfortable for anyone," my mom said, her eyes avoiding mine. "Your father and I think it would be best for Daniel and Jessica to move into that apartment. You could find another place. It's not a big deal, right?" It felt like someone had just dumped a bucket of cold water over my head. "But Mom, I just finished renovating that apartment. I've invested so much time and money into it." Mom shook her head, her tone turning icy. "If you want to stay, you'll have to pay the new rent, 3 times the current rate." The room fell silent. Jessica smirked while Daniel pretended not to care, his eyes still glued to his phone. It all became clear to me. The entire plan had been set up long before. My parents wanted to push me out of the apartment to make room for my brother and his wife, disregarding all my efforts over the past year. I didn't argue. Instead, I nodded and said I would move out by the end of the week. But inside, a different plan was forming. That night, I stayed up late, scrolling through rental listings. By dawn, I had found the perfect apartment. Great location, close to my office, and reasonably priced. I signed the lease immediately and booked a same-day moving service. The next morning, I returned to my apartment and began sticking notes on everything that belonged to me. Furniture, kitchen appliances, even the curtains and light fixtures. Everything I had bought with my own money. I had no intention of leaving anything behind. When the moving team arrived, I packed up everything swiftly. One by one, my belongings were carried out and loaded onto the truck. By the time they left, the apartment was nothing but empty walls and the old, worn-out sofa my mom had left when I first moved in. Before leaving, I put the keys in an envelope and slid them under my parents' front door. As I stepped out of the empty apartment, I didn't look back. A strange, profound sense of relief filled me. I wasn't just leaving behind an apartment. I was walking away from unreasonable expectations and conditional love that had weighed me down for far too long. That morning, I woke up in my new apartment, soft sunlight filtering through the pale blue curtains, casting shimmering patterns on the wooden floor. A sense of peace filled every breath. There were no more blaring phone calls, no more accusations, no more disdainful looks. It was just me and my own space. But that peace didn't last long. Right at 7 a.m. my phone rang. It was my mom. I stared at the screen. the steady ringing like a heartbeat. I knew what was coming, but I couldn't avoid it. "Rachel! What on earth have you done?" my mom yelled the moment I picked up. "The apartment is empty. There's nothing left. You're so selfish. How do you expect your brother and his wife to live?" I stayed silent for a few seconds, letting the storm of accusations wash over me. "Mom, everything in that apartment was bought by me. I have every right to take it. But you know your brother is struggling. Jessica can't stand living with us any longer. You are being so unreasonable." "Mom, I was forced out of that apartment. I'm not the one to blame here." There was a heavy silence on the other end of the line, just the sound of her breathing. Then her voice turned cold. "If you've moved out, then you need to keep paying the rent. That's your responsibility to the family." I laughed, a dry and bitter sound. "Are you serious, Mom? You want me to pay rent for Daniel and Jessica to live there for free?" "Family helps family, Rachel. You can't just think about yourself." "What about me, Mom? Am I not family too? How many times have I helped? When will I ever get anything back from this family?" "You're ungrateful. We raised you, we fed you, we educated you. Do you think you'd be where you are today without us?" "Mom, I studied on my own, I worked on my own, I paid for everything on my own. You never helped me like you helped Daniel. Don't say I owe this family anything." The conversation ended with a sharp click as I firmly hung up. I sat there, my hand still clutching the phone, my heart pounding in my chest. I had never felt so strong. After that call, I blocked my mom's number, along with my dad's, Daniel's, and Jessica's. I removed every connection with them on social media, deleted old messages, and severed every tie. It wasn't an easy decision, but I knew it was the right one. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself entirely into my work. The senior project manager role brought new opportunities, and I tackled each project with a newfound enthusiasm. Every morning I went to work with a light heart, no longer haunted by phone calls or unreasonable demands from my family. I had finally found my peace. I started taking cooking classes, something I had always wanted to do but never found the time for. Those weekend classes brought me simple joy. I learned how to bake bread, cook complex Italian dishes, and even challenged myself with fresh, delicious sushi. I hosted small dinner parties for friends, sharing meals I had prepared myself, laughing together under the warm glow of my new apartment's lights. My life no longer revolved around pleasing anyone but myself. Every evening I curled up on my favorite sofa, wrapped in a soft blanket, sipping hot tea and reading my favorite books. I began to understand that true happiness came from the small things, from the peace within my own soul. Occasionally I still heard bits of news about my family through distant relatives. Daniel and Jessica were still living at my parents' house. Grandma Evelyn's apartment remained untouched, everything as messy as the day I left. My parents were struggling financially due to the large loan they had taken to support Daniel's failed business, and he had no clear plan to recover. Even so, I felt no regret. I had given them too many chances to change, but it never happened. Now I chose to live for myself, no longer trapped in the endless cycle of unreasonable demands and expectations. One late afternoon I sat by the window, watching the gentle rays of the setting sun cast shimmering patterns on the floor. I smiled, feeling no weight on my shoulders. Sometimes to truly find happiness, you have to let go of what brings you pain. And finally, I had done just that. Over time, I realized a simple yet profound truth. Real family is made up of those who love and support each other unconditionally, not those who take advantage like my parents and Daniel had done. Family love isn't about endless demands or unreasonable expectations. It's about genuine care, sharing, and standing by each other when it matters most. I no longer felt guilty or regretful about cutting ties with them. Instead, I felt freedom and a deep peace within myself. There were no more guilt-ridden calls, no more feeling undervalued or like the backup plan whenever Daniel hit a rough patch. I began to live for myself, finding joy in simple things like cooking, reading, and exploring new interests. My work at Hartman & Co. also flourished. I led my team through many important projects, earning trust and respect from both my superiors and colleagues. Each success was not only a reward for my hard work, but also proof that I could create my own value without needing any validation from my family. I also opened myself up to new friendships, building connections with people who genuinely cared about me. On weekends, I often hosted small gatherings at my new apartment, cooking delicious meals and creating warm, heartfelt memories. Looking back, I knew I had chosen the right path. Letting go of toxic relationships had opened up a new chapter of my life, one where I was the main character, free, strong, and truly happy. I finally understood that real family isn't just about blood ties, but about those who make you feel safe and unconditionally loved. Rachel's story is a powerful reminder that family doesn't always bring unconditional love and support. In real life, we often find ourselves stuck in toxic relationships just because of the word family. However, like Rachel, sometimes choosing to let go and protect yourself is necessary to find true happiness. Ultimately, love and genuine support can come from anyone, not just those who share your blood. What do you think about Rachel's story? Is family always the safe and loving place it should be? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to hit follow to catch more stories about family life and valuable life lessons.